Juho Hartikainen, who is representing Akateemiset Pelaajat. Akateemiset Pelaajat also had a table there, so you might have gotten to know them already. And Juho is going to talk today about Minecraft and ethics. Thank you. Welcome, Juho.
Thank you. First off, I'd like to thank Akateemiset Pelaajat, especially Tapio Santala and Veli-Matti Karhula, as well as my wife, for all the helpful support and feedback I got for preparing this presentation. And I'm humbled to be here today after all the other great speakers. Hi, my name is Juho Hartikainen. I'm currently a master's degree student of game studies here in Tampere University. And in the past, I've worked as a game designer and also as a games profession advisor. And today, I'm here to talk about how animals are treated in Minecraft and other digital games as well. I chose this topic because I've practiced veganism in Minecraft for a while now already, and for reasons that will eventually be revealed to you. And you can find the slides over at that hyperlink. Welcome to Kill All Animals, Vegan Ethics in Minecraft. First, the disclaimers. There's not a bullet point for this, but there are more game developers in the world than just white males, just so you know so you might have figured out by now this presentation and the discussion will be in English, but I don't know if someone prefers to comment in Finnish and have me translate that for the non-Finnish audience, that's fine too. Pidän tämän siis suomeksi, mutta suomeksi saan kommentoida. Mä sitten koitan vaan kääntää ne enkuksi muulle yleisölle. The second one is probably obvious too, but I will talk a lot about Minecraft in particular and its content. And there's a lot to explore in that game, and I'm not even sure if it's possible to spoil it, because it lacks a story in the traditional sense. But I mean, if you're very sensitive to spoilers, you might learn some things in this presentation that you would otherwise rather discover yourself. Viewer discretion is advised. This presentation contains some graphic content of abusing fictional animals and people in cartoony, dark gore fantasy settings. I'll try my best to warn you of those slides beforehand, and we'll let you know when I change to the next slide. In real life, I try to be vegan, but I still end up eating meat and cheese and other stuff sometimes. This, of course, makes me an evil hypocrite and means I have zero qualifications whatsoever for what I'm about to tell you here. So just so you know, yet someone somewhere must have misjudged my integrity here and let me give this talk. So here it goes. A couple of vegans monitored some of the animal action, and real animals were not harmed during the making of this presentation. The same cannot be said for the virtual animals, though. But at least I tried. This session will go as follows. I will first explain how I use certain words in here, and then I proceed to talk about animal rights in games. I'll then tell you what Minecraft is and what it's like to ethically reflect on its depiction of animals. I can probably maybe take a couple of questions during the presentation if you have them, but we should have time for audience comments in the end as well. I don't claim to be an expert on animal rights issues, so you probably shouldn't quote me on these. Like I said, I have no qualifications. But for this talk, you just need to know and understand that animal rights is the idea that non-human animals should enjoy certain rights, like the right to live, right to avoid suffering, right to living habitat, right to not be objectified as commodities, stuff like that. And animal ethics then is a branch of philosophy, a moral philosophy that deals with these kinds of animal rights. Then environmental ethics extends that discussion further to also cover the human-Earth relationship and rights to non-animal things, such as like forests, the climate, fossil fuels, and other natural resources. Then veganism is the practice of refusing to use animal products, and someone who follows a diet or lifestyle like that is called vegan. I think I'm just using vegan ethics here, and they're just as a synonym for animal ethics, basically, because that's not even a real term. I just made it up and put it in my title slide because, well, I thought it sounded cool. It sounded more provocative, and then you would come watch this show and be interested. Well, you're here now, so I guess it worked. And finally, animism is this worldview which declares that objects, places, and creatures are all spiritual by nature and sentient entities that have souls and forms of consciousnesses. And as such, we should live our lives respecting all things, considerate of others, whatever they may be. Religions like the Japanese Shinto and also the Finnish native faith Suomen Usko have animist roots. You'll know soon why I'm including this term here. So this presentation actually started off as a general overview to animal rights and ethics in games. And over time, the focus changed, but back when I first started looking into this topic, I found that there were all these different sorts of interesting cases of game culture colliding with animal rights somehow. And just as a quick introduction to this subject, I'll go through some of those cases here that I found. Sorry, yeah, I was meant to. This next slide will contain some gore. Why are you laughing? You're already a horrible audience. Very unethical. Eläinaktivisti, which is Finnish for animal activist, is a politically somewhat incorrect news game from 1997. In the game, you are a fur farmer. Animal rights activists are releasing your foxes over there, and so you try to shoot them. You can also shoot down Santa Claus and his reindeers from... I remember playing this as a kid, and well, now I'm giving a talk about animal rights. So, see, violent video games do affect us. Next slide, it's safe again. So, Games Done Quick is a series of charity events where people play live video game speedruns. Since 2011, there has been a bidding war of one of the scenes of Super Metroid. Should the speedrunner A, save the animals, or B, kill the animals that appear in the game? And when the speedrunner actually needs to make that decision in the game, the choice with the most bids at that point wins. So in a speedrun, should you save animals or should you save time? What's the right thing to do here? I don't know, whatever. Raise your hand to vote. Who would want to save the animals? All right? And who would want to kill the animals and save time instead? Nice. Democracy. Always the best way to resolve ethical dilemmas. I just had to check the numbers on this and create this chart out just out of personal curiosity. Because it turns out, last spring, these save or kill bids alone had already raised more than $3 million for various charities. That accounts for roughly 1/6 of the total contributions raised by all the GDQ events by that point. So, I mean, regardless of whether we saved the animals or not, in this case, at least we saved some human lives from actual cancer and stuff. So that accounts for something, right? So then I figured, I'm studying game studies. Can I find any existing academic papers on this topic? And here's an example article from 2015 by Beatier, Fothergill, and Catherine Flick. They explore our complex relationship with chickens in video games. They write, the chicken is a common figure in a wide range of video games, where it is chased, killed, kicked, choked, ridiculed, used as a comedy prop, eaten, and required to endure various other indignities. In some games, it represents a more positive symbol of abundance and wealth, including racing, breeding, farming, and riding. Chickens exact revenge on overly bloodthirsty chicken killers. The paper also states violent video games are not linked with real-world violence. However, this does not mean that cruelty to animals should be normalized or even glorified within games. End quote. So they reviewed over 50 video games from 1981 onwards, just for this one article about chickens in video games. So clearly, the topic we are dealing with is vast and worthy of investigation. This next slide will also contain some gore. And as I delved deeper, what began as a seemingly trivial task of finding the handful of instances relevant to this topic suddenly turned out into an ever-increasing amount of cases that might or might not be worthy of investigation. So, should I talk about Skyrim, where you try interacting with the butterflies there, and butterfly wings are then added to your inventory? God, who does that? Or about Duck Hunt, where there's literally game inside of a game. Are those ducks mini-game? What about the treatment of Goombas and Koopas in the Super Mario franchise? If you click the Warcraft sheep too much, they explode. All right? Is Pokemon just a family-friendly dogfighting simulator? Yeah, you hate me by now. Some years ago, I had pet rats. They were named Nessie and Sega. Then I tried The Elder Scrolls Online, and one of the first quests required me to kill some rats. Damn, that was harsh. So I mean, you get the idea. Like, the list of games dealing with animal rights somehow just goes on and on and on. Next slide, safe again. So I felt overwhelmed by all this and needed to rethink my strategy a bit. Perhaps I should just take one case that I was particularly familiar with. Well, and it just so happens that I have an extensive history of playing and contemplating Minecraft. I thought to myself, what if those 1,000+ gameplay hours weren't a complete waste of time after all? The rest of this presentation is just about this one game. Of course, we can later talk about other games, but I'm focusing on Minecraft specifically because that's what I know best, and because I also think it's the ideal game for this very subject. I'll show you why. So, as some of you might not have played Minecraft or do not exactly know how it works, here's a quick recap so that you can still follow. Minecraft is an open-world sandbox video game. Due to Minecraft's core gameplay mechanic of picking up blocks and then building things with them, it's often described as a digital Lego world. And this radical open-endedness has been quite disruptive in the gaming community. And at the start, some proclaimed that it's not even a real game because it lacks clear objectives. Well, on the other hand, you could also argue that Minecraft is the only truly open-world sandbox video game there really is. Or, well, rather was before clones and mods and stuff. So, the first versions of the game were created by Markus Persson, also known by the nickname Notch. And Persson co-founded Mojang, the Swedish company, and then transferred Minecraft's intellectual property rights there. The game remained in early access from 2009 for more than 2 years, actually, until it was then officially released in 2011. And 5 years ago, after the years of the game's continuing popularity and success, Mojang was then acquired by Microsoft for $2.5 billion. Over the years, the game has been ported to a multitude of different platforms, as you can see here, like ranging from personal computers, home consoles, handheld consoles, mobile devices, even virtual reality headsets. And Minecraft features these huge fantasy worlds that are generated by complex world-building algorithms. Technically, one single world is 64,000 kilometers long and wide. that's a lot. Like that's roughly the 8 times the surface area of Earth or half the surface area of Neptune. These worlds include various different environments, like, well, some of them are pictured here, and there's a day-night cycle, and depending on what biome you are in, sometimes it may rain water or snow. Practically, you can find every type of block and roughly every kind of structure in every world that you create. You want each world to feel unique and fresh, while still maintaining a consistent player experience, and making sure that everything can actually be found somewhere in each world. So for a game designer, it's a fine balance to actually get right. And so the decade-old question, why do people play Minecraft? Well, it's up to you what you want to do in the game. Maybe you want to build something cool, get all the trophies, have fun with friends, maybe go on exploring, conquer beasts, and get the end credits, do some ethical reflection in Minecraft. You can, that's the thing. And if you're wondering why I'm talking about Minecraft as at a role-playing convention, well, it's that last point there. So that's essentially what I'm doing, not just playing Minecraft, but also playing with Minecraft, role-playing a vegan inside of the game. It's a practical thought experiment. Over the years, Minecraft has built a very strong online video community on sites like YouTube and Twitch, where people upload things such as Let's Plays, live streams, building tutorials, speedruns, highlights of their personal achievements in the game, etc., etc. Furthermore, as the original game is built in Java and allows different sort of modifications, the game continues to have an active modding community that creates lots of original downloadable content for the base game. These mods include various new gameplay mechanics, various types of maps and environmental challenges, and texture packs that change the look and feel of the game. Then popular mods with mutual compatibility and integrations are also bundled into these so-called mod packs that are easier to distribute and install and manage, so that you don't have to like install 200 mods manually. Minecraft mods also have influenced other games. For example, Factorio was inspired by Buildcraft and Industrialcraft, and I think Battle Royale games have also taken ideas from the survival games mod. Also DayZ and stuff, of course. And then there are basically 3 main reasons why I think Minecraft is quite an ideal tool and ideal choice for this kind of ethical treatment of a video game. First, the game does not tell you what to do and what should be considered good or bad behavior. Like in other games like Mass Effect or Fable or Star Wars: The Old Republic, the designers explicitly give you a framework that basically quantifies and dichotomizes all the ethical choices for you. So when the game offers you a clear choice between good and evil that is built into the game's mechanics, well, at least according to game scholar Miguel Zigart, this can be argued to drastically reduce the ethical reflection of the players themselves. So Sith or Jedi, Paragon or Renegade, Fable 2 gives you bad karma from eating meat and good karma from eating plants. Yay! But Minecraft does very little to none of this. The game doesn't say you should or should not slaughter animals, but instead it offers you, the player, a choice. Are you the sort of person, or are you role-playing the sort of character who kills pigs with a sword, the one who builds an automated mob spawner for farming drops indefinitely, or the sort of person that protects animals? So. Then the second point, Minecraft is radically open-ended, and as such you can recreate and reflect upon many sorts of ethical dilemmas inside of the game. Minecraft's game engine is like really flexible. It even allows people to essentially create Turing-complete logic gate machines. And there's a whole new dark part of YouTube where people like construct things like 16-bit processors or even a working Game Boy that is running Pokemon Red all inside Minecraft. Someone managed to order a pizza with Minecraft. I saw a guy do an introduction video to Plato's allegory of the cave philosophy with Minecraft. Minecraft for education is a thing. So, like in this sense, it's sort of a platform, a sort of game engine, if you will, rather than just a game. And lastly, the building blocks that ultimately make up Minecraft are still relatively simplified representations of their real-world counterparts. So yes, models always leave something behind, something out that might be worthwhile looking into, but that doesn't make them completely useless. Models are a form of defining boundaries, and we are working with limited resolution here, quite literally, but for our purposes that should be completely okay. And those blunt looks may even help us see some patterns more clearly. So after Minecraft's world has been initially generated, they are then populated with mobs. They are non-player characters that are roaming the lands. These critters include various animals, people, summons, and monsters. And these mobs are at the center of our topic, the ethical treatment of animals. They are our subject matter, that is, the subjects that matter. So here you can see various mammals, birds, and fish. The player can herd some of these, breed some of these, domesticate and ride some of these, and of course hunt all of these. Except maybe bat, I don't know. But should they? We'll get there soon. You can trade with the friendly villagers, and you might need to fight the nastier illagers at some point. As you progress through the game, you can also summon some additional spawns that are not naturally generated in the game. So you can use snow golems and iron golems to fight for you as protectors, and you can fight these smaller endermites and the larger withers. If it's dark in the caves or during the night, it's the monster mash. Picture here, there's phantoms, giant spiders, zombies, skeletons, creepers, slimes, endermen, silverfish, and guardians. So, yeah, it's not amnesia, but... and even more monsters then lurk behind interdimensional portals that lead to the nether and furthermore to the end. Zombie pigmen, ghasts, wither skeletons, blazes, magma cubes, shulkers, and the final boss monster, the ender dragon. There, spoiled it. Now you know everything about Minecraft. In fantasy settings, it can be hard to define the boundaries between animal species, beasts, monsters, magical beings, and people, and then what rights should we grant each of them. So the passive animal mobs of Minecraft have real-world counterparts, more or less. But does that mean that giant spiders or creepers, for example, should not have the same rights? And why would that be? Like based on what, fantasy taxonomy or something? This red puppy in the corner here is a mushroom-infected cow, a so-called mooshroom. I occasionally wonder if it lives happily in synergy under that fungi infection, or should I intervene and remove the mushrooms so that it can transform into a normal cow? But what is normal? Maybe cows would like to be mushrooms. Like, I don't know. And what's the psyche of skeletons or zombies? Were they humans once, maybe? At least you can cure some of the zombies and then they become villagers. So it's not entirely trivial, maybe. Then there's these endermen, these ominous, ethereal black void characters who are non-hostile unless the player either attacks them or if they look at them directly. Oh, sorry, you shouldn't look at this guy. But yeah, I feel like it would be sort of inconsiderate of their feelings if I looked at them, so I don't. It's sort of common courtesy. What can I say? Like, they're like us in a way. They're these cold, introverted Finns who like their personal space. They even dress in black. So, like, these animals, beasts, beings, their species doesn't actually matter, I think. Every being should enjoy the same rights, regardless of their existential nature. And, well, that's my mantra anyway, when that I try to follow when playing. So, This could be called digital animism in a way, the thing I mentioned earlier. We'll get back to that. But yeah, so what did I actually do when I went vegan in Minecraft? These guidelines should actually largely be applicable to both Minecraft as well as real life and other contexts. So, well, don't abuse animals, don't imprison them in pens, nor other confined spaces, and don't destroy their habitat. Of course, this is difficult in practice if you also consider hostile mobs like zombies or creepers. So you'll soon find out that it's virtually impossible to play the game as a complete pacifist. Like if you encounter a skeleton underground, say, and if you can't kill them to defend yourself, if you can't imprison them, and if you can't even lure them out to relocate somewhere else, there are no good alternatives there, really. Unless maybe like just don't go into the cave in the first place. But yeah, so usually this leads to this sort of pragmatic ethics where it's considered okay to maybe kill hostile mobs if they pose a notable threat to you. But that doesn't mean that it's okay to build mob spawners for just getting loot out of them. Okay, next, steer away from animal products. Even if they are renewable and seemingly non-intrusive. So 0 bacon, no using eggs, chickens lay them autonomously, but still like don't pick them up and use them somehow. And then, yeah, you know, wool, don't shear wool from sheep and that kind of stuff. If you need to modify the environment that is occupied by the animals, do that with minimal ecological footprint and also try to compensate for those modifications if that's feasible. So don't dig up huge holes in the ground that ruin the landscape. Otherwise, you're just, I don't know, role-playing Talvivaara or something. If there are alternative approaches to producing something, go for a most ethical method. I know defining this is not always very clear-cut, but that is no excuse for at least try and make sense of the different alternatives. So, for example, burn wood to make charcoal instead of using coal that you dug up from the ground. Attempt to produce as little waste as possible, or strive for making the world even better than it was before you got there. And of course, I still draw lines between like critters, plants, and minerals. Like they don't necessarily share the same rights, but I still cut trees and mine natural resources. But I still reflect on those decisions as well. So I plant trees that I fell, and then save the extra saplings for myself if I want to plant something more somewhere else. And I try not to waste any ores or other non-renewable resources. And of course, like in the case of multiplayer servers, this is not just trivial. It's not just for my own amusement, but it's also considerate of the other players that are playing in the same world. Because I know, like, if you kill all animals, if you destroy the landscape and use up all resources, then there's not much to do for the other players. So you might be still wondering why anyone would want to play a vegan character by choice. I think it's a fun thing to tell people for one. That's why I'm here. But in Game Studies Classic, The Grasshopper, Games, Life and Utopia, Bernard Suits defines games as a voluntary attempt to overcome unnecessary obstacles. I'm doing this by choice, yeah, the challenge is totally unnecessary, so it checks out. This is, in fact, a game. More accurately, it's a game inside of a game. I'm playing with animal rights inside of Minecraft, so by definition, I've designed a mini-game. Maybe, I don't know. But I challenged myself to explore the design of Minecraft and its mod through this specific ethical lens. I might have gained some insight into game design choices through this practice. Help, I don't know, perhaps I'll even design a game someday that will incorporate some of these teachings. We'll see. And if I'm ever playing with any friends who don't like killing animals, then I can help them discover alternative ways to play. As I'm role-playing and having fun while doing it, this may even prompt me to be more vegan in real life. And through crafting, mining, and building things in the game, these gameplay mechanics might even educate me on some other principles, like pacifism or sustainability or zero waste, how to take care of the environment, and kind of stuff. And when contemplating interactive experiences, I'm not just watching how the game world reacts to my actions. I think it's also about observing how I'm reacting myself to the game world. And if it all still seems strange to you, you could think of it this way: what kind of a character would you like to role play in Minecraft? When I was browsing through Reddit, I was trying to find out energy production solutions that would be efficient. I came across this one guy. He wants to slaughter animals to use their blood as a coolant for a nuclear reactor. Whoa! But yeah, I mean, just because I want to play the good guy doesn't mean everyone should. So perhaps this particular rehearsal in turn motivates them to, I don't know, become a real supervillain in the future. Time will tell. Sooner or later, time will tell. Okay, so here's one actual case that might not seem obviously like animal rights to you, but I'll get there. So iron. It's a non-renewable resource in Minecraft, in vanilla, and it's used in a lot of different recipes like tools, armor, machines, rails, furniture. And iron ore is the most common mineral in the ground. And as I said, the world is gigantic, so you can't run out of naturally spawning iron. But it's still technically, it's non-renewable. Once you exhaust an iron ore vein and smelt it into ingots, there's no going back. Well, that is unless you're creatively evil. To acquire renewable iron ingots infinitely, all you need to do is spawn and kill iron golems. A lot of them. So people make videos on YouTube on how to do just that. These designs require either using like spawner blocks from creative mode, or then in survival you imprison dozens of villagers to make them spawn the golems. And I won't actually talk about the villagers here even, but Folding Ideas did a great video essay on YouTube about Minecraft, sandboxes, and colonialism. So definitely go check that out if you're interested. It's like, of course, it's not as intense as Anno, but but this is where that animism comes in. Like, what are the rights of summoned robots that are molded out of non-organic materials? They're not animals, but do they have a soul? Should we consider them to be sentient or conscious? As you can see here, the iron golems are modeled after the robots in Laputa, Castle in the Sky. It's a 1986 film by Studio Ghibli. So I, for one, wouldn't have the heart to build a slaughterhouse, even for these hunks of metal. And yeah, so as if the vanilla version of Minecraft didn't have enough to cover already, the game also has mods. I played modern Minecraft for several hundred hours over the years, and yet I feel still like I'm just been scraping the surface. So there's a lot to explore, a lot of user-generated content to explore there, and as you can see here. I've mostly played Feed the Beast Revelation lately, and I also have written a Getting Started guide for the mod pack at the FTB Gamepedia wiki, and that guide is also vegan-friendly and zero waste, mainly because I thought it would make it more high quality. I have experience with modded interfaces, equipment, technology, magic, farming, decoration, and last but not least, bees. Oh no, the bees! No, I mean, yeah, for the sake of this presentation, I went pretty deep into bees. Don't get me wrong, I'm all animal rights and stuff, but seriously, these bees. The original forestry mod is pretty old, and its documentation is pretty outdated. So I first got myself killed by bee stings when I tried to scoop wild beehives without smoking them first. Okay, the smoker was added later, I guess. Fair enough. So yeah, next I needed to build bee houses for them. I needed to squeeze their honeycombs, then analyze their species and crossbreed them. And this mod, I don't know why, but it features a biologically realistic Mendelian inheritance mechanics. Like, I've used 100 hours for this esoteric system, and I still don't fully grasp how it works. Okay, so then each unique bee takes up an inventory slot. And if you played Minecraft, you know that you soon run out of space to store all those extra drones. So since any drones with inferior traits by this point are basically useless to you now, yeah, you start to go full eugenics on them. You melt all the extra drones with ethanol, and then you recycle their liquid DNA to recreate your, like genetically modified super Uber bee. And for what? Why would you do this in the first place? Well, just so these bees can produce you a minuscule amount of otherwise non-renewable resources. So there's like queen bees be like, I see you've used several dozens of hours to domesticate us, so here, have an iron nugget every 10 minutes or so. So, I know some vegans are flexible when it comes to insect products, but heed my warning, leave these bees alone. They will give you nothing but trouble and maybe ethical dilemmas. Never again. Next. The ground trap is an interesting block. In the wikis, it is described as a device that generates land animal related items. To use it, you dig it in the ground and then provide it with different baits. So then the trap consumes these baits, and in exchange it produces items like meat, limbs, bones, hides, feathers, and eggs. So it doesn't interact with any existing mobs in the game. So the game's mechanics of it are sort of exactly like a machine that just generates all the items out of nowhere. And yet it's clearly a bait trap that lures animals in. It kills them and then stores their leftovers. So in terms of story, the animal products don't just magically appear inside the trap. So like you don't see it, but something definitely dies there. I just found it interesting that the ground trap is sort of described in words that are very clinical. So it's an item generator. Yeah. Then we have that scrap box. If you have any extra items that you don't want anymore, like cobblestone or gravel or wood or anything basically, you can put them in the recycler to turn some of them into scrap, and then use that scrap to craft scrap boxes. And then open a scrap box and you'll get something completely random, and then the box disappears. The process is not entirely explained in the mod's lore, or like not at all, but in practice it kind of comes off magical, even if it's an industrial craft mod. Like it's even like Terry Pratchett-esque in this sort of, you craft a box out of scrap and then you find some random item inside. What's happening? So, well, anyway, I ended up using this method to acquire some, like a couple of feathers for that I needed for some crafting recipe. But then I started wondering, where do these items really originate from? Like, is there some weird magical dimension somewhere that features feathers but don't have animal cruelty? Like, where am I actually drawing this loot from? But then again, this was the most industrial and synthetic method that I could come up with in my mod pack for acquiring any feathers. So, I don't know, are magical loot boxes inherently unethical? There's a mod that adds a recipe for creating a new kind of portal. This portal takes you to a new mining dimension where there's eternal sunshine. The landscape is entirely flat, and there's animals, villages, and underground monsters. So my dilemma here is it ethical to construct this portal in the first place? Are the animals and villagers sort of, they're okay? Like, there's no nights, and there's like, they don't have any bodies of water there, without any hills. What kind of life is that? Is this a happy land or is it not? Like, was this land here already before I made that portal, or did I actually create that world when I created the portal? And is it more okay for me to use this world to exploit the resources of this dimension rather than taking resources from my main world? It's sort of like a virtual world in the way. Like, is this like that episode of Rick and Morty, or the episode in Black Mirror, or Matrix, or Westworld, like anything? I don't know. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I guess I don't need permission. Okay, so we'll do it without audio. So we all know that video games affect us. I mean, otherwise, why would we play them? The question that's more important is how. Can video games change your personality or behavior? Possibly. And I guess I have to somehow address the classic debate here. Can video games make us more violent? Well, doing game studies, I know at least that the scientific evidence for this is still largely inconclusive. Maybe because a research question like that is really hard to operationalize into a measurable experiment. But we all know that people can have dreams of like Tetris blocks after they have been playing or other game elements. And I think my deep reading here suggests that video games may also have the ability to make you less violent. So you can play Minecraft and respect animal rights and still enjoy it. At least I did. And maybe if we played more like this and designed games that allowed for more meaningful interaction with animals, we could live and coexist better. Yeah, so that's meaningful entertainment. And this is where it finally hit me. Like, maybe the reason why I wanted to contemplate animal rights and ethical issues in Minecraft in the first place was that it's so much easier in this simplified sandbox world than in real life. Like, playing is easy, real life is difficult, infinitely more complex. And in the back of my head, I still knew that even the seemingly harmless act of playing a video game is still problematic. You see, before I can grow food and dig up rare minerals and generate energy for my machines in Minecraft, someone else needs to grow food. Someone else needs to dig up rare resources and generate energy for my computer. And so everything is linked. So, and yeah, we live in the middle of crises, basically. Degradation of nature, mass extinctions, depleting natural resources, growing energy demands, compromised democracies, vulnerable economies, you know. Together, they are all threatening the very existence of intelligent life on Earth, no less. And frankly, I don't know how to solve all this. But at least from what I gathered from this personal journey, I think it starts with the same basics as leading an ethical lifestyle in this game. Respect all things and be considerate of others, whatever they may be. Animals, people, monsters, buildings, mountains, oceans, rainforests. Yeah, even bees. Before I wrap up, just a quick shout out to Akateemiset Pelaajat or academic gamers. If you like this presentation, please sure to check us out. We are a cross-disciplinary community of people who love playing games, thinking about games, talking about games. You don't need to be a student or anything. The meaning of the word academic here is used very ironically, just to denote that we are pedantic philosophers who overthink everything, games and play. So if that sounds familiar to you, then you are warmly welcome to join us and attend our upcoming events. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We have 1 minute left, so one question.
What's your next event?
Tapio,
Can you answer that?
Tapio can maybe answer, because I can't remember.
Is it playership therapy session or?
Pelaajuusterapiaa.
Yes, it's also used in an ironic manner.
When is that?
24th of this month, I think, at the university, but everyone is, of course, welcome to talk about the change in one's pelaajus, playership, that is the correct translation.
Yeah, follow the Facebook page and you will find all the information there. Maybe we have a quick one more question if someone has. If
Yeah.
not,
If not, I have still one final tidbit that sort of sums up this conversation, I think. This is based on a true story. By this point, I thought I had everything figured out ethically. I'm venturing in the dungeons, and then out of the blue, this guy shows up. It's a baby zombie riding a chicken. It's a baby zombie riding a chicken. What in the fresh hell is this? I have only seconds to react. Baby zombies are deadly and fast, and this guy was freaking mounted. But what sort of a person would kill a baby, even if it's a hostile zombie? Aren't babies innocent? Could they be cured? Is this animal abuse? Or is the chicken actually in on this diabolical conspiracy? Forget it! There's no time for moral contemplation. God damn it, this is a wicked problem. I'm taking damage, and in panic, I take out my sword and start swinging it towards them. In this state of frenzy, I accidentally hit a torch, and the dungeon goes back. I'm just hitting everywhere. I'm swinging at the general direction of the undead junior jockey, and I can hear faint squawks over high-pitched zombie growling, furious sword swinging, and my own cries of pain, of course, both physical and emotional, virtual, and all too real. And then the sounds finally stop, and I fumble through my belt to light up a new torch to see what I've done. What have I done? Did I just kill all animals? No! I'm the bad guy after all. Okay, thanks. That was it.
okay, thank you everyone for participating in this speech and during the whole day. I have one final announcement. You are all welcome to join us for kind of like after gathering. We are going to Dog's Home, the pub nearby railway station. And if you